Welcome to The Built World Around You, the podcast where we explore the people, ideas, and innovations shaping residential and commercial construction, as well as all the industries connected to it. Each week, we sit down with thought leaders, rising stars, and real problem solvers tackling today's toughest challenges. From job site breakthroughs to boardroom strategies, we're here to share the lessons, the struggles, and the success stories that are a part of tomorrow's world being built right now. So grab your hard hat, sharpen your pencil, and let's get to work. Welcome to another episode of The Built World Around You. I am your host, Bobby Thompson, president of Thompson Group Ventures. And today's episode, I have one of the best partners. If you are a builder or an associate looking towards energy efficient home building, looking towards green building, and you haven't partnered with PEG yet, you are not doing the best that you can do. I promise you that. Today we have Matthew Cooper, and he has been a subject matter expert and a rock star in this space for years. I'm so excited to get some conversations with him and share the nuggets that he has to share with you. So without further ado, please help me get excited, Matthew Cooper.
Hey,
Matthew,
good morning.
How are you doing,
Good
brother?
morning. How are you doing? I'm doing good, man. How about you?
Doing all right, man. Doing all right. It's great to see you on a virtual stage nonetheless, but you've been all over this year at conventions, at symposiums. You've been doing a lot in the space, Matthew.
It's been a busy year, but it's we just finished our 27th year in business, and to have the opportunity to still be asked to be present and speak at things is definitely one of the most rewarding parts of being in this industry for me.
Well, I love it. And I appreciate all the work that you do with the partnerships that you are doing. I think it's great that you are including folks in the conversation and getting real feedback and giving real responses back to the moment that we have here in our nation's housing crisis. And so I just appreciate you for all your hard work that you and the team over at PEG are doing.
Absolutely. I appreciate that. We definitely pride ourselves on trying to bring as many new voices into the conversation as possible, and it's exciting to see a lot of the younger folks that come work for us and work with us, and even those that they contribute to the conversation for a few years and then they move on to something more exciting. But while they're with us, we encourage them to speak out and really help us push the envelope, if you will, on what's possible.
I love that. So I've known you, and I've known you for years through multiple companies and multiple operations that I personally was doing in my own career. But for the folks that don't know you, please tell us who you are and what do you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a founder of PEG. We are a mechanical engineering and energy efficiency and environmental consulting company. We're about 250 employees. We're based in Virginia, but we're licensed mechanical, electrical, plumbing design engineers in all 50 states. We're the second largest HERS rater in the country. We rate about 55,000 homes a year. At the beginning of 2025, we hit our 250,000 HERS rated home. So by the end of this year, we should be pushing past 275. So it's definitely an exciting prospect for us. And then we have about 100,000 homes a year around the country that are built with our HVAC designs.
Man, I can't even imagine that amount of homes, that undertaking. And now, when did it start? When, for those folks that want to know how long that's been to get there, when did it all start to get to that number?
Yeah, so when the company started, we were actually a GSA scheduled contractor. We were predominantly working in government buildings, and a lot of it was environmental based. For years, we had a contract with the Pentagon where we were doing indoor air quality testing, and all of that sort of building science, building diagnostics, is what led us to start adding new services and capabilities to our team. And it was, around 2025 to 2005 or so, we started to do Energy Star homes. And then that really picked up shortly thereafter, and we started to really push the envelope with chasing opportunities with builders that wanted to build better homes. And we had the good fortune for 17 years in a row to be Partner of the Year with the EPA, with the Energy Star program. So we got to be exposed to a lot of the programmatic side of things, and helping write updates and give feedback for updates to these programs. And that led to being involved in code development. That led to being involved with product development and evaluation. So it's over the years it became less reactive and more proactive with the types of relationships that we were working on. And then after a period of time, we stopped doing the GSA work and have just been working private sector ever since. But we're still very broad. We do a lot of work in the institutional space. We worked a lot during COVID with COVID patient isolation room design and isolation room monitoring. We started this past year, we started a new division of a company called Empirical Solutions that focuses predominantly on manufacturers, third-party testing and validation of manufactured products. So, a window manufacturer or an insulation manufacturer or HVAC manufacturer will bring us their products and ask us to do third-party modeling of showing, how their products interact with the development and construction operation of homes. It's an ever evolving kind of window of opportunity that we look at, seeing what's the next part of this process and this industry that we can get involved with. And so it really keeps us going, having new opportunities.
I love that. And those new opportunities and partnerships and being a part of how do we get there is vital to, making sure that we're innovating and meeting things in a pragmatic way and getting the intent of the actual push to just better living across the finish line with other builders, local and regional partners. So let me ask you this, because you had mentioned the EPA, and obviously the elephant in the room when we're talking about high performance home building or energy performance is that Energy Star as a program to energy efficiency, as a litmus test of sorts, is going away, right, from a federal governance standpoint. And are you seeing jurisdictions getting behind managing a state-based replacement for that? And if so, what are you seeing?
Yeah, I mean, well, first, the Energy Star program, we're not sure what at the end of the day is going to exist or not exist. There's a lot of conversation about it potentially being rehoused back at the Department of Energy. Most of the team members that didn't take an early out are still there. They just been assigned to different things. The program in and of itself still exists, but the future of it, I think the ambiguity of that is really what's causing states and utility companies and other programs, like you said, that have relied on it as the litmus test for having a third-party validation of the performance of homes and buildings is, since it's uncertain, there's a lot of look at, looking right now at, what can we do differently. One of the interesting parts of that is that, the Energy Star program has HCOs, or home certification organizations, and those HCOs are, really the energy, the engine behind the Energy Star program. So while the Energy Star program is a binary program, you either qualify or you don't qualify, you either meet the criteria or you don't. The engine driving that are things such as ResNet and the HERS index. So the the inspections, the testing, the quality assurance that goes on, that's all still there. That's all still functioning 100%, same capacity as it was. And we knew what was happening with Energy Star. And that's so we are starting to see, fortunately in code, several years ago, we started to have the option of an ERI or a performance value, a numerical performance value of a home. And the HERS index is the most well known. There's over 4 million homes that have received a HERS index, and not all of those were because of Energy Star program. A lot of them are just builders that chose to use the HERS index as a measuring stick of their home's performance. And for years, we've seen utility companies starting to move away from just Energy Star as the qualifier for participating in their programs, and they started to look at KWH SAVE, or they started to look at a target HERS index value or an ERI value to see whether or not a home will qualify for their programs. And so I think this has really kind of pushed the industry and states as well to really make consideration for using an alternative to Energy Star, and the HERS index is the best known of those. And what's interesting too is that going along with that, ResNet has continued to evolve outside of Energy Star. So ResNet has the HERS H2O, which is a water efficiency rating. They have the CO2 index, which is an operational carbon rating, and a value for the homes. And that's all, they're natural constituencies of energy. So the ability to take, energy performance and turn it into a operational carbon or CO2 index, pretty linear. What's really interesting and exciting to me is ResNet has for about a year and a half now been working on developing an embodied carbon standard specific to residential new construction. So the ResNet 1550 is in its second public comment period right now, and we're really hoping to see that standard come to the marketplace early next year. And what's really cool about that standard, and I get to say this because I've been on the development committee for it, but what's cool about it is it's the first standard that was designed specifically, like I said, for residential new construction. In the past, we've had to kind of cobble together the use of other softwares like One-Click LCA and Beam, and they're great tools, but they were designed around commercial construction. So having a standard specifically for residential that includes the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing carbon in a home is really exciting. So we're very happy to see this come into the marketplace.
And I appreciate you in that response. I'm very excited to see embodied carbon being a focal point. For those listeners, that aren't into building science, can you do a quick review of the difference between operational carbon and embodied carbon so they understand what we're talking about?
Yeah, so basically when you're talking carbon, you're talking about life cycles. There's different periods of time during the development of products and materials that go into construction, the actual construction itself, and then the operating of that structure. So when we talk about operational carbon, we're talking about, based on the grid makeup of, what's being sent to a structure or a home, whether it's electricity or natural gas or propane, whatever fuel is being delivered to the home, as the devices in the home consume that fuel, whether it's an all-electric home and they're just connected to the grid, or maybe they're connected to battery systems or to solar, PV, whatever consumption is taking place in the home, which is a byproduct of the efficiency of the home and the components of that home, that's operational carbon. Mm-hmm. So when we look at embodied carbon, we're talking about what carbon is physically represented by the materials, by the sticks and bricks, by the carpeting, the paint, the sheet metal, the conduit, the electrical wire, everything that goes into the actual materials that are in the home. and looking at what carbon footprint does those items represent, and that's why it's called embodied, because it's there in the materials when they start.
That's right. And one of the largest, right, is concrete. And so
For sure.
we use a ton of concrete in a residential and commercial construction. So when you think of all of the embodied carbon that material takes to manufacture, ship, move to site, mobilize, and install, it's holding a large amount of that, right? And so when you're talking about embodied carbon reduction, Matthew, what moves the needle the fastest for these folks that are starting to look at this metric?
Yeah, that's been a subject of conversation in the industry, is that there's some very distinct low-hanging fruit items such as concrete that they're the typically the easiest to see the opportunity to reduce. And there's a variety of ways. There's the product itself. By using higher fly ash content, you start to see reduced carbon carbon footprint of the actual material itself. You can build with less concrete. You can look at alternative methodologies for construction to reduce the amount of concrete that's using. You can build smaller homes and use less concrete overall. What we're seeing though is that this conversation is also pushing innovation in the material space. So we're starting to see companies coming out with carbon that is storing concrete that is storing carbon, and we're starting to see more innovative products being used in the development of concrete alternatives. When you talk about construction in high wind zones, so down in Florida, for example, we start to see lightweight CMU and things that still have the structural integrity that's necessary, but have a reduced carbon component to them. So it's pushing innovation. It's pushing architects to make different choices about things. We've long had conversations about how much glass really needs to go into buildings, and is there a more intelligent approach to glazing considerations when we're designing buildings, because there's a distinct relationship between the energy efficiency of the building and the amount of glazing relative to the overall wall space. So the same goes with concrete. There's definitely different choices that can be made. Some of those are limited by what's present. So
Sure.
When we do embodied carbon consulting for a builder that builds all across the United States, we have to look and see in some markets there are already the industry already has a percentage of fly ash that's in the concrete, so there's less opportunity for savings because they're already at 20% normally. But the flip side of that is that we have to look at some places in the country nobody's offering reduced carbon concrete. It's just not available in the marketplace. So you have to really understand it. We learned this years ago with HVAC design. If we design in the Northeast US, for example, the installing contractors are very familiar with sheet metal. You take the exact same design, you try to build it in Nashville, nobody there does sheet metal in residential new construction. It's all ductboard. So you have to have a different design because you've got different friction rates for different products, different materials. The same goes with carbon. You have to take into consideration the marketplace and what's available in that marketplace. And a lot of the conversation can be driven by needs of the end user. So you have some builders that are sticking to their guns on what is important to them as a business, and whether it's increased energy efficiency and reduced operational carbon, or now it's reductions in embodied carbon. Those decisions are made based on what's important to them. But we're starting to see some of those builders that are reporting, they publish a sustainability report every year. They've got target goals that they're committed to. Those goals are often internalized, but then we have others that are institutionalized. So we're starting to see a lot more started to. We have been for the last 5 years, seen a lot more Japanese ownership investment in residential new construction in the United States, and they have institutionalized demands and goals to reduce operational and embodied carbon, because that's just part of their sustainability ethos. So, it's changing the conversation significantly of, are these things that we're pursuing because, it's an opportunity for us to make money, because that's been a driver for a lot of people in energy efficiency. It's been participation in incentive programs, whether they're federal programs, local programs, utility programs, and conversely, with some of those programs going away, or they're just ambiguous, and builders are too nervous to rely on them because they don't know what's going to happen to them. Some builders are, they're giving into the temptation to de-spec, go backwards. And we're really happy to see that the vast majority of builders that we've been working with for decades are not going backwards. They're sticking the course of, if they want to see their homes be more affordable to own and operate because they are more efficient. They are committed to advanced construction methodology. They're committed to seeing advances in, for example, heating and cooling technology, looking at inverter, heat pump technology, inverter battery storage technology, and they're seeing that there's more benefit to it than just checking a box that they can receive a rebate. They're seeing that they're resulting in homes that are more durable. They're seeing better customer satisfaction. Their homes are more comfortable. The indoor air quality is better in the homes. Their customer satisfaction numbers are staying higher than their industry competitors, and higher than the industry average. So they see the tangible benefits, and the beauty of really integrated modeling when it comes to looking at what products and what construction methodologies are best for a builder, is they're able to see financial benefit from the relationship between some of those considerations. The best example I'll give you is that when builders are looking at, hey, I want to participate in this incentive program, whether 45L federal tax credit, and combine it with a local utility incentive, perhaps get an incentive or rebate from a manufacturer. They're understanding now, and they see the benefit of the relationship of when we build to a specific standard for a home, when we're talking about its performance level, is now we need to make sure that we are taking credit for that performance level in the sizing of our heating and cooling. And in the past, that just hasn't taken place because the industry has always allowed the installing contractors to size the equipment for the homes.
That's right.
And that's just frankly not their strength. I mean, there are some that are great at it, sure, but for the production builder world in particular, those contractors are just they look at things from a square footage perspective most of the time. They're not considering orientation of the home. They're not considering how tight is the home actually. They're not considering the thermal performance of the envelope. So they're sticking the same 4-ton system in a house that they've always stuck in it. When in reality, now the builder has made this investment in all this new technology and better construction that are making happier homeowners that have a home that should cost them less to own and operate. But they're still if they don't stick in the 3-ton that the system that the home really needs now, then they're missing out on that opportunity to provide that comfort, provide that efficiency, and provide that affordability. And as you know, homeowner affordability is one of the top 5 subjects in the country right now.
100%, if not the number one, right? And what could possibly go wrong for having an oversized system for a home full dynamic? Real quick, wanted to small pivot with you, Matthew, and I appreciate your insights. But wanted to know, is there anything that's exciting right now? What's exciting you in the market? What are you seeing that is exciting to be a part of or to see?
Well, I think what is exciting to me is those builders that are staying the course, that are sticking with the advancements that they've made and not, succumbing to that temptation to roll back, the quality and the beneficial construction choices they were making in the past. Like I said, there are cost-effective ways to comply with, even above code programs, if not just code, that really make for better living. Like that you said, again, it's the builders that are keeping that course and are they've already seen the benefit of it. They're selling homes faster than their competitors. Their homeowners are more comfortable. Their homeowners are happier. Their homes are more durable. A lot of these choices have downstream ancillary benefits outside of just the initial upfront known benefits. So when you build homes that are more efficient, they tend to also be more resilient. So when we talk about resiliency, there's a lot of different ways to look at resiliency, but the most direct correlation is to weather events. So if a home is built to these higher standards, the home is almost 100% of the time going to be more likely to be able to withstand high wind, more water events, higher wind-driven rain events, even wildfires. So there's a lot of downstream benefit that comes from those decisions. So I think that's one element of it. We also talk about resiliency as from a grid resilience perspective. When we start to look at some of these technologies like battery storage, for example, if a homeowner can charge a battery, whether in Texas where they have battery systems being charged from the grid, or in places where there's solar opportunity, you can charge batteries from solar. But then when the electricity is at its most expensive on the hottest day of the summer, that home can run off the batteries. So they're not paying that higher utility rate for those hours of the day that the grid is charging the most. So again, it's grid resilience. They're able to operate if the grid has problems, but they're also able to mitigate the cost impact of the higher grid fees during those hours of peak demand. So there's a lot of really exciting stuff. I think that it's really pushing its way into mainstream construction and not just a fringe element where just somebody that wants to build a FIAS certified home is going to be able to have these types of technologies in their home. That's exciting to me. Stuff like triple skinny windows that are coming out that it's a triple pane window, but because they're using that Gorilla Glass as the center pane, the window itself is now not as heavy as a conventional triple pane, and it doesn't change the physical dimensions of the window. So the builder doesn't have to make architectural or facade changes. Really fascinating and exciting stuff that the industry is pushing forward. There's certainly challenges, but when isn't there? So I think
if it was easy, we wouldn't have a housing crisis.
Exactly. The 3 to 7 million homes short that we are in this country, depending on who you talk to, didn't just happen in the last 12 months.
That's exactly right. Well, Matthew, I know that you and I could talk for hours about where we are and kind of striking a path for each market that we're operating in and have clients in. If you had to give one note about where we should be focused on from a housing industry, whether it's residential or commercial, what should builders out there that are listening be focusing on?
I would say the one thing that we all need to be focused on is attracting new people to the trades. Getting people into construction is definitely something that, like you said, the housing shortage didn't come from nowhere, and it's not going to go away. There are great strides being made in offsite construction. But there's only so much that things like technology changes and offsite construction. There's only so much that they could do to impact the ability to build more homes and to build homes better. It's people. we need more people in the trades. We need more people in construction. And frankly, I think it's been a blessing to me to be involved in this, for as long as I have. And it's definitely an opportunity for people to, build a better life for themselves while they're contributing to, the neighborhoods and the constituents around.
Well, I couldn't put a better bow on this episode than that, Matthew. I appreciate you, and I 100% agree that the labor shortage in skilled trades, but also in the industry as a whole, is needed. That boom that we all need to be able to supply these homes that we are short on is paramount to the success of meeting this housing crisis where we need to. Um, I, I couldn't thank you anymore for your time today, Matthew. I look forward to seeing you at the next event, and we will definitely be working more towards getting the messaging out there, not only about embodied carbon, but also workforce development to meet the needs of our industry. And I'm happy to say that PEG is always available for those that want to reach out and get in touch with PEG. What's the best way for someone to contact the group to do a partnered energy rating or to use any of the services that you mentioned today?
Yeah, I mean, we're present on all the social media platforms, but you can always look us up at www.pegenv as such as pegenvironmental.com.
I love that. Thank you so much for your time today, Matthew. We'll be talking to you soon.
Sounds good. See you soon.
See you. Well, folks, you got a lot of content from Matthew, and I'm telling you, he is at the forefront of understanding at the national basis. So you owe it to yourself to reach out to PEG, get more informed, make the right decision, something that's better for you, your business, and your community. Until next time, we'll see you in the built world around you. Thank you for listening to The Built World Around You. If today's conversation gave you new insights or sparked fresh ideas, be sure to subscribe, share, and leave a review. It helps more builders, leaders, and innovators join the conversation. Until next time, keep building smarter, leading stronger, and shaping the world around you.